What's up, everyone? This is your boy Julian with Cloutfinder, and I got my guy in the building, Justin Allen, aka Godflow. How are you doing today, man?
Blessed, brother, blessed. Really excited to lock in with you.
Because for the most part, we already talk like every day, so it's great to actually, go live with you and just have a conversation where, I mean, this is what we always do, but for everyone who doesn't know you, you're a very talented guy. You're a producer, you're a director, you're a executive producer, you're an artist, you're just an overall creative. And, why don't you just kind of give people a little hint of your background, what you're all about, what you do, and who you are?
For sure. So, yeah, like you were saying, this is a really natural
You there,
conversation.
Justin?
Yeah, you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like you were saying, this is a really natural conversation. Um, Definitely a brother to me. So, this is probably the most seamless interview I'll do, right? Between you and I. But for folks who don't know me, Justin Allen, I was born in Queens, grew up in Atlanta. My faith is a really big part of my life. I grew up with God fearing parents, a Christian household, and they introduced me to church at a really young age. And in church is where I fell in love with music at a really young age. So, gospel
Mm.
music specifically. That led me to start playing keyboard and being able to play keys and sing a bit in Atlanta, which was a music city and an R&B hip hop heavy city. Especially, I was born in 1990, so over the years, um, I really saw this kind of boom of entertainment and the Black Hollywood that we know Atlanta to be today. That was all happening as I was growing up, and got into studio culture in Atlanta. So took my, talent for singing and playing keys, started applying that to recording music and learned Pro Tools and some other digital audio workstations and how to produce and cut records and write. And eventually went to school. Uh, Sound design was my major in college, and split my time between Berklee College of Music and Emerson College in Boston. Was kind of working the audio recording and the composition, uh, music creation end at both of those schools. And yeah, man. So kind of took my love for music, started to apply it to some other things like film and TV, and moved to LA, which is a hub for entertainment and folks with talent and creativity come out here all the time, and that's my story as well. Found myself working on more projects and getting to compose on some TV shows and movies and comedy specials and work with companies like HBO, Showtime, Netflix, on the music side of things. And over time, my curiosity grew for other areas of telling stories, and found myself wanting to write and produce more than just music, but also the TV and film stuff that I was working on. So I've been developing projects, developing a really special project with somebody who's on the other end of this call, um, and, uh, and you, Julian, but also, working on some stuff with my wife and some other projects with some directors out here. Most recently, this really talented brother named Dr. Lewis Jones, and as well as pursuing my own projects as a writer, producer for film, TV, and music. So when people ask me what I do these days, I'll just tell them, I write and produce, um, and those are the different mediums I'm interested in right now: film, TV, and music.
That's awesome, bro. And it's so funny because every time I talk to you, it's like there's something else. And so right now you're getting into the writing and production side of television. You've been in music for so long, but you're a great artist. Like you can draw, and then you're a very talented, overall musician with playing different instruments. And so, what are the ways? Like, what are all the different ways you enjoy to like express yourself creatively?
Yeah. So I would definitely consider myself, a Renaissance man. Like growing up, I wasn't super inclined with the whole sports. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Always kind of big for my age, so I was formidable, but I was never, one of the nicest players on any sports team I was ever on. But I was often the most creative or the most artsy kid in class. I could always draw. I could always had a good ear to pick out notes and create songs, and um, I think that's why I've always had like a mix of girl and guy friends growing up, because I wasn't like a super aggressive, broy kind of sports guy. I was always a little more sensitive, low key, um, quiet, and drawing, writing songs, poems, stories in my head a lot. And it's dope to be in the entertainment industry where you can really make a living off of your imagination and honing those skills. So I do it all, man. I have to focus on certain things in different seasons of my life. That's why I'm focusing on the film, TV, and music, which really go hand in hand. You know, every film and TV show you've ever watched has music in it, and oftentimes films get adapted into shows, TV shows get adapted into films, so all those things are talking together. I'm focusing on that now, but you're right, I do draw. I even you know want to write like a book at some point, multiple books, but one thing at a time, or at least a few things at a time, that I know God has called me to focus on. And those are the things I'm working on right now.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So, man, just a little bit of pretty much everything. And and I know as you've developed in your career, coming out of Emerson, you used to run a director over there. You then evolved to having your own studio for a time. And then now, even with your job working with Atlantic Records, running their studio, um, how have you, what have you learned from the course of your career so far? How have you been able to take advantage of the opportunities you've had to leverage that to your next thing? And what advice would you give people who are just coming up in creative industries who are looking to best take advantage of their talents and skills to create a life and a career around it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think, what did I gain and what would I tell people is very similar. Um,
Mhm.
I think what I learned and what will help someone else is you have to lean into where you are. Because I do have a lot of passions and kind of have different skills in the arts, I can be so creative that I lack discipline at times. So, really I was talking to a friend about this the other day, but kind of being hard on myself, being mean to myself, and forcing myself to um, lean into where I am and give that thing my attention. What you like to say, I love this term that you coined, or you're the first person I heard say it. Your T, your time, energy, and attention. And I've learned that if I'm working for someone else's studio, I have to give that my T, and I have to go hard at that as if it were mine.
Mm.
And then in times, you're right. I did go on to have my own studio, and then I had to give that its proper amount of time, energy, and attention. And I think I'm a very spiritual person, the same way that you are. I talked about my faith at the top of the talk, and I really do know that God has a way of rewarding folks who are diligent, and if you don't despise small beginnings, or if you don't despise where you are. Something that I used to do, and it stagnated me, and it slowed down my growth and different stages of my life and career, is I used to say, oh, I don't really love this job. I'm just going to do this until I can do what I really want to do. And I'm going to work hard and give that my full attention. And that's actually the way to never level into that next thing. And I think it's very tempting to do that as a creative. I know I found myself saying that multiple times, like, this is just a survival gig. I'm not going to bring my full Justin to this survival gig. I'm gonna save that for the things I'm doing outside of my job and the things I'll do in the future. But the truth is, when I started bringing my full Justin, my creativity started to look for ways to have initiative and find different ways to make impact where I was. Those are always the things, the conversations, the events, the opportunities. I would end up meeting people that led me to the thing that I was closer to what I envisioned myself doing.
Interesting, interesting. So basically, instead of being so self-focused with this is, the only thing that's on my mind, you were recognizing that people were investing in you. So you wanted to put your best foot forward and, people putting their trust in you. And by doing that, that opened some doors for you to get what you want in a sense.
Putting my best foot forward is probably the best way to leave it to you to sum up my long-winded response. But that's literally what I'm saying. Put your best foot forward, and that'll open the door to your next best thing.
So within your, I guess, doing one thing at a time, being present with all your different opportunities, what are some of your favorite projects that you've had the chance to work on, and why do those projects, I guess, stick out to you more than other things you've done in the past?
I think some of the stuff I've done community wise, like the civic engagement stuff. Uh, there was a job that I had, and part of my role was using the recording studio and ADR studio and voiceover. We did all kinds of stuff, podcasts, but taking a less commercial and revenue driven approach to that space and organizing talkbacks and events and panels. And you've attended some of that stuff in the past.
Yeah, the Laney Stewart one always sticks out to me.
Yeah, that was a cool one. And I worked with this nonprofit called Sound Girls. And I actually met one of the Sound Girls members at the Laney Stewart one that I literally went to my boss and said, can we do this? So that's an example of literally what I'm talking about, where I decided, you know what? What can I do? What can I bring? Um, Brought this really talented, legendary producer, songwriter in, met a Sound Girls member, and she introduced me to the president of Sound Girls, which is this amazing nonprofit for women and folks who identify as women, um, to learn about uh, sound and recording and because a lot of the population of sound folks are male, so their focus is really looking out for women and giving them a space to learn and acquire different skills in audio. And I started to do some of these panels and partner with them to bring in folks from their community. We reached out to the community at large, and went on Eventbrite and had some folks that lived in the area, alumni from some of the colleges that I mentioned would attend these events. So those are things where I know people met each other and created things. People met each other and created businesses from some of those events. People, got placements and, you know, found their tribe, made friends. It was really powerful, just the connectivity of, putting people in a room together. And those are probably some of the events that I look back on and like, wow, that was really cool. And we would charge to kind of cover our bottom line, but those weren't like financially driven things. Those were more about, just representing um, in the community. And those are probably some of my favorite projects I've worked on.
I feel you, bro. So I guess now that you're on like the cutting edge of so much music being made from, you know, running a studio where A-list artists come through, a lot of like the new up and coming artists are coming through. You may be in the studio with, a couple people yourself whenever you feel like it. What are some of like the new trends that you're seeing currently with the music? And what are some of the things that are happening that you just personally enjoy listening to?
That's a good question. I mean, one of the biggest things that everyone is talking about is AI. I
Hmm.
can't really not mention that. And I think it's lit a fire under the more organic creators. You know, I'm seeing folks lock in and call, reach out for studio time that that might not in the past as often. You know, because
Hmm.
things are changing for sure. So it's a good time to kind of tool up and have a bunch of records in your arsenal because I don't think anyone concretely knows what the next phase of the industry is going to look like with the furtherance of AI. But other than that, just seeing a lot of young artists doing their thing. Um, I know there's a young artist named Lil Tyler that Atlantic just signed, and I'm actually a big fan of his. Uh, I think he's literally a kid, like he's not adult age yet, and then but he has like kind of an old soul. So I would encourage folks to look out for him. I could see him, doing things for a while. He has a really cool approach and a fun approach to records that I'm really liking. Um, uh, so yeah, those are some of the new things I would look out for.
Yeah, AI is very interesting. What I think, you know, if I'm trying to project out into the future of music, I think the ability to create high quantities of music that are quality are going to go up tremendously. So I think we're going to see people who are able to, without, necessarily needing a super high quality studio, produce like a quality product. And then also with AI, as it pertains to music, it's not just the AI that's going into making the music itself or the production itself, but also the AI tools that are going to be used to help operate on the business side of things. You can go to like, Chat GPT-4 and type in, how do I run my own indie label and, effectively upload my music to distribution platforms and get my music placed and, different things. And you'll be able to get a very high quality amount of data and information on how to do that. And also you'll be able to, come up with marketing ideas. Like how do you create a campaign that can get your song heard by 100,000 people in, Houston or, LA, wherever you're trying to target. Like you'll be able to, work with these AI tools to run your music business and make music as well. And so I think the competition for, at least on the streaming side of things, can definitely skyrocket, and maybe a couple new people can start breaking through that weren't traditionally able to find a path.
Definitely exciting. Definitely exciting. I know at every point in history, there's been it's been marked by change. I know how much fear and uncertainty the advent of Apple Music and some of the early, even iTunes, early streaming services uh, was met with like a lot of contention and contempt. But at the end of the day, I think we're all creative enough to figure out ways to swing these things and use tools in our favor. So I'm one of the optimists regarding, the furtherance of AI and how it's going to affect different parts of the industry. We talked about film and TV earlier, but they're also going to be impacted. I mean, really every industry. Um, and since I'm a creative person, I'm probably most interested in the creative fields. But I'm also excited.
Yeah. Have you found ways to use these tools yourself to, amplify your capabilities or what you're able to like push out as of right now?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I know one of the tools that isn't getting talked about as much, and it was one of the earlier um, folks on the scene, is Descript,
Mhm.
and
Mm.
that's a lot of podcasters are using that. It has a huge audio slant um, for spoken word, but I was using that a minute ago. I came across it, and I encourage folks to check it out. But there's going to be a lot of ways that we can use this stuff to help us. Um, Chat GPT, of course, super helpful, and just the more casual ways that I think people are using it now for writing things, for quick answers to things, almost like a Alexa. We've been hinting at this sort of technology for a long time. You know. Hey Alexa, stop. That's
She's like,
hilarious.
I'm ready to go.
Right, she heard me talking about her. So this stuff isn't super new, and we'll definitely just continue to figure it out. I'm being a little vague because there's something actually I think pretty huge and game changing that I've been mulling around with uh, that that could really help push things forward. But I'm not about to say it on a live broadcast.
But you gotta keep a little something for yourself.
For sure. I mean, I'll definitely share it with the world, but in time.
I feel you, and it's also I think it's better to do that, not just because you're early to it, but you don't know what the spill out is or the long-term repercussions of a new technology is. And, sometimes people can get access to something and I don't know, it's not for them and they get upset or whatever. And it's just like, first it's usually good to get your hands around something. And then once you have a solid understanding of it, you can, tell more people about it, but you can give them the nuances of this is what you gotta look out for and things of that nature.
For sure. I love that.
But right now, so we talked about like some of the new innovation. What's like some of the new sounds? Like previously, I would say we had more of an electronic sound coming. Drake and Beyonce dropped those albums at the same time. Then we had like Afro beats been around for a while. Are there any other new sounds that are kind of starting to emerge, making their ways to the mainstream?
Um, yeah, I would say, you know, what's really, I don't know how long it is because, with the advent of social media, we always talk about how short people's attention spans are. I could say this and it could be like played out like in a week, but
Mhm.
the Jersey club sound, you know, Lil Uzi had that huge record, I Just Want to Rock,
Mhm.
uh, with the whole kick situation. And there's the dances that go to that Jersey club sound that we've been seeing a bunch of the younger folk doing. Um, also, I think her name is Pink Pantheress, but there's this really cool sound coming out of the UK, and it's almost like a garage drum and bass kind of sound, um, which is really a throwback, but it's being I've seen a lot of young people listening to it, and it's trending on a lot of like music platforms, stuff with that sound. Um, Very cool to see that coming back around. Drum and bass was popular, like I feel like early '90s type around that era. But you know, TikTok has latched onto it, and we're seeing a lot of records like that work their way over to the states. Um, and then yeah, Afrobeat. I've really been into Afrobeat probably since I heard that Burner Boy Yay song really take over and get played over here in the states. And I have this I know this is a forward thinking platform, so I have this whole theory that you know as Black people, sonically, rhythmically, and even movement wise, we're trying to get back to Africa. This is Justin's theory. I'm not
Mhm.
saying this
You allowed to
is
have a opinion?
yeah, this isn't a fact, but this is my thought that we're as Black people, we're trying to sonically, rhythmically, and movement wise get back to Africa. And when I look at like um, dances over time being kind of European, like the Roger Rabbit, you know what I'm saying? Um, Movements like that shifting into things like the nene, you know what I'm saying? Um, Even the Jersey club dance with the hips and the shaking and kind of making those fists and connecting them to your hips. If you think about how the nene looks, if you mute the audio or this Jersey club dance that's getting really popular, if you mute the audio, it really looks very. Those movements look so African, and even the whip. You know what I'm saying? Those things look very tribal. Even everybody getting in the big crowds and hitting on the beat and everybody going, yeah, like there's this tribal Africa thing. You know what I'm talking about? There's this tribal
Mm-hmm.
Africa thing that's like begging to come out. So I think Afrobeat will just get more and more and more popular over time, and maybe even become like the biggest sound in the world, because what we usually do as melanated people, usually the world follows. So yeah, I'm huge on Afrobeat as well, and I'm a piano more recently. I've been listening to so much of that, um, kind of like the African house music from, I believe, South Africa. But those are some new trends, newer sounds.
Man, so you have Afrobeat, you have the New Jersey sound, and what was the other one you were talking about, real quick?
Yeah, so you have Afrobeat. I would say even I'm a piano. Um, then the New
Mm-hmm.
Jersey club sound, and then drum and bass. There's like this UK, and this is drum and bass isn't new, but it's making this resurgence with millennials, which is really interesting. And that's kind of coming from the UK. A lot of UK artists are, and it's starting to get popular over here.
Got you, got you. So, moving now over into TV and film, how's that transition? Now we're working on a project together. You've stepped up to be the overall showrunner of the show. I can attest to the challenges of being an executive producer. From stepping into that role, what have you learned about yourself? How's that different from the course of your career so far in music? And how would you just describe that overall transition for you?
Yeah, to be honest, it does not feel very different at all, and I think that has to do with if I hadn't leaned into the uh, running studios for like the satellite that I was working at. Um, if I didn't lean into running my own studio, if I didn't lean into running the studios for the label that I'm at now, I wouldn't have the skills, the verbiage, the aptitude, I guess, for just kind of connecting with creatives and dealing with different departments and teams and getting things to run um, in sync. But that's really what being a showrunner is. It's interfacing with different departments of creatives and getting them to work as a team for the sake of a show instead of for the sake of a studio running the right way or album getting created. But I see there's so much crossover in my experience. And I think the biggest change, I guess, the biggest transition, and we talk about this all the time, and it's probably maybe the only thing that doesn't translate over is the verbiage. It's the terminology. It's the um, really just knowing the different aspects and what they mean, speaking the language, I guess, of this newer space. And that's why I've been reading a lot of books and studying master classes. I spoke about Dr. Lewis Jones earlier. He's a multi Emmy Award winning director. He's been a mentor that I've been, leaning on in recent times, and looking for even more and more mentors to glean from, and having a lot of conversations with folks, reading and studying folks like Rodney Barnes, um, He's somebody that shares a lot of his experiences as a showrunner online, and I find myself on his social media and his website a lot, where he details his experiences at different stops in his career. Most recently, Winning Time, he show ran and um, worked on Everybody Hates Chris, and so Kenya Barris is somebody I've been watching his um, fireside chats and taking notes. Issa Rae has an amazing course on Masterclass. So I think a lot of the intangibles came about through experience, leaning into these jobs where I really didn't know why I was there, and now I get it. You know, um, especially even jobs before I started working so much in entertainment. Even those jobs, everything was kind of pointing and preparing me to have a lot of the intangible stuff necessary, but the stuff that is tangible, like the knowing what you're talking about and knowing knowing how to speak the language of the industry, knowing act structure, and that there's a different act structure for film than there is for TV, and knowing what a protagonist is, and what makes a strong antagonist, and how those things are so important. And, there's a glossary of things that I still have to educate myself on, but that's probably the piece that I'm most focused on now.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I love the Issa Rae masterclass myself. One thing that I really took away from that was when she was talking about writing imperfect characters. Like that was something that was so huge for me because when I was first starting to approach looking at writing and character development and building characters out in my head and placing them in a world, I was so I don't know, I think it's very much like as people we strive for perfection. And so we sometimes when we don't have that foundation with God, we try to cover up our imperfections. And I think that tendency, that human tendency you can naturally spill over into how you try to write and perceive character. And so with her class, that was something I really would never forget. And it made me think back to Insecure because I remember watching Insecure season 1 for the first time. And shout out Insecure. That was during my one of my favorite sets to do. Great group of people over there. But I remember watching season 1 and having arguments with people because I just did not like Issa's character. Like I did, at least in season 1, I didn't like how she moved. But it was such an. But I remember going to this picnic and having this huge, not me, but watching this huge discussion between like 6 people about like, oh, they're team Issa or they're team Lawrence, and why she was what she did was justified, and what Lawrence did was justified, and it was really now people were having conversations about society, and I think that that's so cool as creatives where there's something that exists within inside of us that we can put out into the world and it can touch other people within their soul, if that makes sense.
You summed it up beautifully. Summed it up beautifully. I agree.
So let's say, 2 5 years pass, you crush every goal and objective you have on your plate. What do you see life looking like within that time once you've kind of checked off all the things on your list right now and you're trying to move to that next phase?
Um, yeah, so I have I guess again, this is some of my nature is and you know this about me very well. I keep some things very close to the chest until until they're protected. Especially, this is a little sidebar. If you're a creative person and you like to share, that's great. But understand that what comes easily for you, your imagination, the fact that you come up with all these great ideas, that is in the industry is intellectual property. Like it's not as haphazard as it might seem to you because you have so many ideas. So I've learned that over time. I've seen folks. Oh my gosh, I'm thinking about someone particularly who invented an entire format for storytelling and filmmaking that's being exploited right now, and they've been worked out of the equation of these films that have huge budget names. And I'm not going to speak about the details, but I've seen that happen. So I do play things close to the chest. So some of the things, and I have ideas that are 5 years out. So I'm going to keep those things to myself. Some of the things, though, that I feel good talking about is show running. So right now, we're talking about one show, but I would love to have multiple shows going on. Um, we've seen Tyler Perry purchase a network. I think that's, or at least he's on the verge of purchasing if he hasn't purchased it already.
No,
But
he has it now. He has it now.
also, I think that's huge. And I'm of the belief that when we see somebody, especially from our community that looks like us, do something quote unquote huge, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Um, we should be standing on their shoulders. So I'll just, I could see myself, see you owning an entire network, and who even knows what that would look like. It could involve Web3. At that point, 5 years from now, we don't even know what
Maybe
networks will
we're on
look
the
like.
network right now.
Right. Literally, like we don't know what networks will look like in 5 years. Will they even be called networks? Um, but yeah, definitely ownership. I'll leave it. I'll leave it like that. Ownership. A lot of ownership in the creative and entertainment space, and running more shows, and then also um, giving back. Like I love what you're doing right now, doing things like this, where leading, calls and sharing experiences and bringing people on to have them share their experiences. Definitely giving back and speaking to millions, billions of people, um, telling stories that encourage them, and always doing it with from the heart posture of uh, just God being the source of anything that's good, and sharing a Christ-like perspective with people through the stories that I'm telling, and through any opportunities that I have I'm able to extend. So.
That's awesome, bro. And I know you're a busy man, so I'm not gonna hold you for too much longer. But one question I wanted to ask you, because I know how much God means to you. What is the role your relationship with God has played in your overall journey as a creative?
So I think it's important to really consider that the very nature of God is creative. You know, even when I think about that in the Bible, a lot of we talk about this a lot. A lot of culture in the world like right now TikTok talks a lot about manifestation and saying it before you see it and things like that, and writing it down, right? Writing it down so you see it. All that stuff is in the Bible, and it's been in the Bible for a long time before people started posting it on TikTok. Um, the Bible talks about write the vision down, make it plain, so whoever sees it can run to it. Um, so a lot of this manifestation stuff, um, you know, writing things over and over. Uh, I love that culture is catching on to it, but faith God is real, and His principles do really shift people's lives, even if whether they attribute them to the original sources or not. But all that to say, um, you know, we were created in God's image. That's in the Bible as well. So we can't not be creative. We were created in God's image, and God created the foundations of the world. And I think of God as the creator of creation. Um, I know so many songwriters talk about how, I didn't even write this. It just came to me. It was almost like it came through me, and I consider the source of those kind of blessings to be God the Father and the Holy Spirit. And I believe in the Trinity: God the Father, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus Christ. Um, Jesus Christ died for us and saved me from my sins. So I, while I understand that I have the gift of creativity, I try to always remember who gave it to me and tip the hat, you know, whenever I get an opportunity to use that gift and someone praises or shows love to me for that. I try to point it back to the source, um, because I know that I know where my help comes from, and where my blessings come from. And anyone who's really talented at something, like, you can hone the talent, but the source of it was God given. So I believe that we should use our talents to honor the God who gave them to us. We got to find a way to do that. We have to. And I definitely am about that, and I know you're about that, and we help each other do that. So um, appreciate you having me, man, and um, really excited to even interface with anybody who leaves any comments or anything like that. Is it cool if I leave my social media on here?
Absolutely. That was my final wrap up is how can we find you, learn more about you, see more about what you're, cooking up. How do we tap in with Justin Allen?
Awesome, man. So probably the best outreach right now would be Instagram, and I'm working on my Twitter. Maybe you can help me with that, Julian. But right now,
I got you.
it's Instagram, at Just Let God Flow. JustLetGodFlow.
Okay, so just let God flow. So if you want to tap in with Justin, that's the best way to do it. So happy to have you on. I need to give you a clout key and some clout coin, so you
Hey,
can, be ready for this future that's coming. And, your family, Justin, I appreciate you coming out. I'm going to probably talk to you tomorrow, and love you, bro.
love you, man. Thanks so much for the opportunity, and looking forward to all of it, man.
Absolutely. So tap in with you soon and have a great rest of your day, Justin. And thank you everyone who's listening to this for your attention. If you want to, learn more about what we're doing, go to cloutfinder.com. We have our NFT for sale there. We're across all social media. Feel free to give us a follow, whatever platform it's on. Just Cloutfinder across the board, and a lot of great things that are happening. Hop in our Discord and have a great day, everyone. Be blessed.